treat your customers as a relationship instead of a transaction. A CRM is only as good as the data that's inside of it, right? And the more you can automate the hygiene of that data, the better results you're going to get. This is such a good example where someone changes a job and you want to get notified and you want your CRM to update, and then you want to either manually send or automate some reach out to them. I've been in CRM for 10, 12 years, and the biggest problem is data entry and copying and pasting and making sure stuff is in there. And, I don't want to, speak for anyone else out there, but I know from my experience, it doesn't happen as well as if it has to happen manually.
I'm super happy to be here today in our Surf Sesh with Steve Holm. So Steve is the CEO of Copper. Copper is one of our CRM integration partners since I think day one. I remember when we launched Surf, or back then the old name was LeadJet. We launched it on Product Hunt, and I think someone from Copper Product was reaching out via this Product Hunt post, hey, why not having an integration? So that has been 4 years ago. So I'm very happy to have that session today with you. For everyone who doesn't know, Copper is a CRM mostly for I would say, medium-sized businesses. You now support more than 30,000 customers from the US. Especially you started with being that CRM on top of Gmail. So for everyone who wants to check out Copper, go on copper.com and you will find more. All right, Stephen, from where are you first of all joining us?
I'm in Salt Lake City, Utah, in the snowy mountains of Salt Lake.
Perfect. Yeah, for us, we often surf, as the name speaks for itself. I was curious because, of course, when I prepped for this webinar, I was looking at your Vita, and I saw that you were a co-founder of a wakeboard shop.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's been, I don't know, like 20 years ago or something?
Yeah, it was a while ago, but I grew up skateboarding, snowboarding, wakeboarding, all of the things. And, we thought it would be fun to start a wakeboard company where we manufactured wakeboards and did that whole thing. And I loved it, but it also spurred my interest in digital product development instead of physical product development because it was so hard to inventory and manufacture and all of that stuff. But it was a great experience.
Nice. Yeah, if you have one of these old boards, we have our surfboard here in the office. I don't know, I never started to do wakeboarding. But if you have one of these, feel free to send it over. Good. So you mentioned already product. So today's session is about relationship-centric strategies and how they can help you in boosting your deal conversions. As you're having a background in product, and I know that Copper software has been very product-centric. And you yourself, I think you have been in between at Dropbox, which is a very product-led company, self-service company. We have been at Catalyst as well, which is more oriented on the CSM experience. Zendesk as well. We have been at Podium, another company. All these companies are very product, customer-centric. And my first question to you would be, as you also, I think, took a very unusual route to CEO, right? As from product designer to CEO. First question was, how can nowadays product support a relationship-centric strategy?
Yeah, I think, I've been asked this so many times since I became CEO. So many of my former colleagues and folks in design and product have asked, what's it like going from, your previous roles to CEO, and what skills translate and all of that. And I think the big one for me is that it's about customers, right? Like it's about your customers and understanding who they are, spending time with them, getting to know what their needs are, what their pains are, and creating something compelling for them and something unique for them, and being able to clearly articulate what you're doing and why it's different. And then execute on that. And so, being able to, having the skill set of digging in with customers, creating roadmaps, understanding their pain, articulating that pain, and then really executing well against that is essentially translates almost one-to-one to a CEO job. I'm not in the weeds as much, but I have to create a vision and a direction and hold that direction and make sure we execute based on our customers' needs. And so it's all about spending time with customers, understanding their communities, where they spend time, who they are, what they care about, and creating focus for the business so that you can solve their needs correctly. And so that's probably the biggest skill that translates over to my new role as CEO, pretty directly.
And how, I mean, as a COO, you of course face business results. And do that change now as you have the CEO glasses on, I would say? Do that change your product decisions you're making towards more business results?
Yeah, it's a good question. For me, I don't have a lot of superpowers, but one of my superpowers as a design leader, a product leader, was
Mm,
to make sure everything we're doing was pointing towards some customer value that led to business results, right? Like in product, I think sometimes, and design specifically, you can miss that where you're just kind of designing and building in a vacuum versus really understanding exactly what we're building and doing. How does that translate to customer value, which then translates to business outcomes? And so I've always had that mindset as a design and product leader that it doesn't, you can design the coolest thing in the world, but if it doesn't translate to customer value, you're not going to get business results. And so
mm,
everything I've done in the past, that was the goal, is customer value equals business results. Therefore, everything we do has to tie to that directly. And so, I think that responsibility is heightened a lot as a CEO,
mm.
because it kind of falls more directly on my shoulders, but that's always been a focus of mine.
Also, maybe I'm sharing shortly my screen because then we have a better view on that. So, talking about where you support them and how Copper is doing over the whole process. When we prepped for this webinar, I think there was this sentence coming up: "It doesn't end with a sell." So that's what we hear often in kind of our sales teams. Of course, closed one, and then I'm taking care of new business. So I'm hunting already for the next prospect and opportunity. And basically, the sell ends here, the kind of relationship ends here. But you at Copper especially say, no, it doesn't end here. So how do you support here? Is it the sales to CSM, for instance, connection, or where do you support it?
Yeah, we this is sort of one of the unique perspectives that we have at Copper, is that traditionally CRM is kind of like helping you manage a lead and close a deal, and
Mhm.
that's the scope of what you do with your CRM. We feel like the relationship has goes well beyond the sale and closing a deal. You manage the interest, the lead, and then you close a deal, but then you jump into customer onboarding or project delivery or service engagement or whatever it might be. And then you get feedback after that in the form of, Google review or NPS or, some survey. And then you create repeat customers. Right. And so there's an end to end journey that starts with interest and goes to closing a deal, delivering an engagement, getting feedback, and creating repeat customers. And Copper aims to help businesses, help our customers own that end to end journey so that you can ultimately build relationships with your customers that lead to great feedback, great reviews, and ultimately more business from existing customers. It's a lot easier to sell to existing customers that you've done a great job with than it is to go
Mm.
find brand new customers. Now you do have to find brand new customers, but it's about building trust. And if folks that you've already built trust with, it's easier to sell to than cold reach out a lot of times.
Do you also work a lot with referrals, for instance? So, I mean, when you establish this great customer relationship, does your existing customers bring you new customers by referring Copper to them? Do you have a strategy put in place for your sales team here? Or is it more like you see inbound channel, a lot of customers come from referrals?
Yeah, we find that a lot of our customers come from referrals. We There's two ways we think about that. One is direct referrals, where we got to deliver a great product and service so that you as a customer feel comfortable recommending us to your friends and colleagues and people out there. And so it's very important that we build that great relationship with you, and we can ask for a referral. And a lot of times it happens organically, where people come to us because they were recommended by a friend, or a lot of times someone will leave their current company, go to a new company, and they like Copper so much that they implement that at their new company. That happens quite often. But we also really feel like ourselves and our customers, if you can get a Google review or an NPS, high NPS score, or some testimonial at the end of your engagement, you can use that to then go drive top of funnel business. If it's a Google review, more reviews and the better reviews you have, you're going to get found more often. Top of funnel, right? People are going to search and they're going to find you easier. Or you can use testimonials to put on your website or landing pages or social or whatever. And so it all kind of feeds itself. If you can build a great relationship, there's a lot of great outcomes that, if you do it right, that can come from those good relationships.
Yeah. You've been also speaking about they have been a former customer, so they switched jobs, for instance, and they may now be a right target to approach again at the new company to check out, hey, maybe Copper may also help you for your new role. I've also kind of have a few examples brought to you, which I'm happy to share. What we, for instance, at Surf are doing. So we exactly do that. We check if a former customer switched job, and then we do outreach campaign, for instance. You can do that with the help of user gems. We at Surf help you also on the LinkedIn side. So, of course, as we live nowadays as a seller on LinkedIn, we often get either the notifications from LinkedIn itself, or we help you here by providing the new contact details. This helps for us quite good. Of course, the customer needs to be a happy customer, so there we back again, putting them into the center of the relationship. But yeah, that's one of the things we do. Are there some examples from your side? How do you engage with former customers, Steve?
Yeah, I love this example. I mean, a CRM is only as good as the data that's inside of it, right?
Yeah.
And the more you can automate the hygiene of that data, the better results you're going to get. This is such a good example where someone changes a job and you want to get notified and you want your CRM to update, and then you want to either manually send or automate some reach out to them. We find people do that all the time. We have automated email outreach. And so when new data comes in or a data point gets met, you want to send an outreach to them. And so we find folks do things like simple things like birthdays. We want to send a promotion to you, an automated email promotion or a newsletter every month, or, whatever the sort of data point that's important to you and your business. You can capture that in a CRM and ideally automate the hygiene of that data so that it's accurate, you're confident it's accurate. Then you can trigger outreach and automations that are personalized, and you can ultimately build good relationships at scale that way.
Yeah. How I often do is also on the one-to-one side. So that's especially for bigger enterprises. Of course, I always want to find a personalized approach. But of course, I want to kind of scale that approach. So what helps here is, again, you can use templates. There's different tools. I think Copper has also inbuilt templates. We help you also with templates, for instance, on the LinkedIn side. And I think relationship first outreach strategies. We have also given you a few examples here, because always users want to see examples. So happy to share, for instance, one approach we recently did is the warm intro approach. Back again, we are here at referrals. Often what we combine is here a scaling way, which is a email campaign to the end user. Let's say we targeting as an end user SDRs, right? And then we have a one-to-one approach to decision makers, budget holders. And here we like to leverage our network, thanks to LinkedIn. I think we can talk also about the importance of LinkedIn and the network shortly. But what you see here as an example is that a head of SDR was giving us an intro to another head of SDRs. In this case, I think it was from Ronald from ChargeBee. And the great thing was, thanks to our email outreach campaign to the end user, we already checked in for their pain. So here we actually combine two strategies. scaling end user outreach per email to check for the pain points, and then asking for the warm intro on the one-to-one to the decision maker. Yeah, these are one of the strategies. Steve, how is it for you? LinkedIn network, how important is that for your clientele and for Copper?
I mean, it's critical. I think, when you're selling, it's a large part of it is about building trust and establishing trust. And so, the faster and more efficiently you can do that, the better off you're going to be. And so, LinkedIn is a great way to do that, where you've got connections that are connected to other connections, and this warm intro kind of creates trust instantly. Especially if it's from someone that you trust or someone that they trust. I mean, it establishes some trust right up front. So you get that out of the way, and you can start having more meaningful conversations faster. This is huge. This is huge for us as a business, and for, I would say 95% of our customers, because they want to skip the cold outreach piece of things, and get to, some sort of level of trust as fast as they can, so they can get to a demo or a proposal or whatever, and ultimately, create a relationship and get more business. So this is big for us and our customers.
Yeah, and I mean, the buyer behavior has been changed. So we nowadays tend to buy based on our peers. So it's the same. I don't know, when you look in buying new sneakers, right? You have that argument like from Warren Buffett, hey, if my kids buy Nikes and their friends in school buy Nikes, there is kind of a changing buyer behavior. And it's just based on your peers. So I think on LinkedIn, it's exactly the same. And we see on LinkedIn that people speak about software from our network. We are immediately also interested in that software. And here it's the same. You get from one of your peer groups in your relevant industry an intro about a software they are using. So you change your buying behavior based on your peer. Okay, I think this is an example how you could start outreaching at the very beginning, so pre-sales. We also have a few examples brought to you that you can doing while being in the sales process. So here you often can leverage LinkedIn direct chats. We like to mix business with some human chats. Sometimes it's not always about business. Also, it's as we are Surf in Paris, and some of our clients come to visit Paris. It's next to discussing about the data protection agreement. We also discuss wine bars, for instance, in Paris. So that's where we kind of also foster the relationship. Of course, that's more one-to-one approach, and this is hardly to scale, but it definitely helps for the overall relationship and deal process.
And we're all humans, right? We're all human beings, and especially now where there's so much AI and all of that, the more human connection you can create, and sometimes it doesn't scale, sometimes it can, but I mean, you have to build a connection with folks, and it has to be authentic, I think, and people can see through some of the stuff that is not authentic. So I love that approach.
Exactly. And then also here's another example where you can help for the end of the, I would say, sales process. So when it's about social proof, so you went through almost everything like on the negotiation side, so that solution evaluation, and now we're in the negotiation phase, where they may need a bit of kind of extra points to convince. And what we often do is we just send our existing clients to them, try to match with their industry, and say, hey, why not introducing you to one of our clients, and you just have a short chat either via email or the phone to check for the ROI there, the benefits they're experiencing. So we often do that. Like here, we put client from Google Cloud with a new prospect into touch, and as you can see here, we had a very interesting call with them. Thanks a lot for the referral. I think we will copy paste that into our own sales process. So you see, you build also not only one relationship, now you're building kind of a small community at the same time. And I think that's nowadays modern software selling, how it should be thought of. You're building a community and not only a start to end sales.
Yeah, I loved it. I think this is why it's so important to treat your customers as a relationship instead of a transaction. Every single day, our customers ask us, how do companies like mine use Copper to be successful? Right? Like that's like the number one thing people want to know is, how do others use this, and how do they find value? How are they successful with it? And so the more you can leverage existing success with your product or service, with your prospects, the better. I mean, that's a huge selling point where other businesses like mine are successfully using your product and service, and even better if they're willing to jump on a call with the prospect and share that. I mean, that's huge. Let alone just testimonials and content or case studies or whatever it might be. So that's a big deal.
Yeah. How do you at Copper nowadays find your prospects? So as we are a prospecting tool and Copper is a CRM, so we are pre-sales. Copper is here for the relationship piece. But how do you find your clients and prospects Copper? Do you have some strategies here to share with us?
Yeah, we have, over the last 6 months or so, since I rejoined Copper, we've defined who our ideal customers are and what industries they're in and what types of businesses they are. So for example, agencies and consulting and financial services are really successful with Copper. And so what we started to do is get more vertical specific as we market to these folks. And so what that means is, yesterday I was on a podcast for an agency podcast where they're talking about how to grow your agency, your creative agency or your film production agency. And so for us, it's starting to be less about generic demand gen and more about how do we become a part of these communities, where we show up in an authentic way and can create really good content that speaks to the problems that these industries and these types of companies have. To me, that's a much more effective approach to finding prospects, where we can create a brand and a community and talk to the specific problems they have versus generic sort of deal management content or whatever it might be. We're starting to get a lot more industry and vertical specific in how we talk about Copper and where we show up.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that there's also a lot of tools out there. I think AI also helps nowadays to get these kind of industry specific content catered to these right prospects at the right moment. For instance, I think 2 weeks ago, I chatted with a solution where they have let's say a classic one pager, like an ebook or whatever. And depending on the industry, the AI automatically changes content parts for it and then personalizes this ebook while on the go. So this is very, very interesting. I think AI can definitely help here for more scaling solution. I also see in the votes currently that a lot of our users use tools for helping them in outbound activities, to find either probably sales triggers and automate the outreach. They continue to talk to their prospects. So you guys make everything right. That's good. So we have one more poll for you. If getting all these, the relationship we always say in the sales team, if it's not in the CRM, it doesn't exist. That's why the next poll is, do you really put all your interactions into the CRM? Do you struggle with it? So here's a bit more, it's more towards the no. Yes, okay. More the no. So I think it's still a problem to capture all these, because where does the outreach happen? It's in your emails, right? It's on LinkedIn, or either on your cloud calling platform. So how do you capture all of that at Copper, and how do you ensure that these outreach pieces or relationship pieces are at the end ending up in the CRM? And yeah.
I mean, this is the big question in CRM, because like I said before, your CRM is only as good as the data that's inside of it, whether that personal data or equally or more important sometimes is the communication and the next steps and the interactions that you've had. I've been in CRM for 10, 12 years, And the biggest problem is data entry and copying and pasting and making sure stuff is in there. And, I don't want to, speak for anyone else out there, but I know from my experience, it doesn't happen as well as it needs to be if it has to happen manually. And so what we've done at Copper, this is the big reason we chose to go with Google Workspace, to integrate with a platform like Google, where a lot of your interactions, and why we partner with you all, because a lot of your interactions are happening in LinkedIn, in email, in calendar, in documents. And so Copper, our superpower is our ability, if I add you as a contact in the system, we're not going to have you manually, input the emails and the calendar events. We automatically track that. So we have your domain, your email address in the system. So anything related to you in Google and in LinkedIn just automatically gets tracked, automatically gets pulled in, so that you've got that and it's visible to other team members, so that everyone knows what's going on with your potential clients and your existing clients. And so, the more you can automate, we call it zero input. We try to get to zero input CRM. That's one of our, goals is how do we become the least input CRM, so that, like you said before, when data changes, it's automatically updated. When an interaction happens, it's automatically tracked, and you just go about your day. You just do the things that you're doing. You're reaching out on LinkedIn, you're emailing, you're setting up calendar events, you're sharing documents. We don't want you to have to think about it. It just needs to get pulled in and tracked automatically. And so that's a big mission for us. And again, why we chose to integrate with Google so deeply and with Surf so deeply.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end, it helps all marketing, sales, and CSM teams, right? Because for marketing, if you, I don't know, have a scoring system or something in place, when you do outreach and you see the prospect interacting with it, then that's for you maybe a certain stage of sales accepted lead, and the sales team reaches out. That's their part of the relationship. And then the CSM sees how strong it is of a customer, and that helps them also for retention later on, and potential churn flows to prevent churn. So yeah, I think that's very important. As in the CRM, there is sales-centric CRMs, of course, where only the salespeople are in. But nowadays, we are moving towards a sales, CSM, and also marketing. So one CRM kind of fits all teams, almost, or let's say relationship-oriented CRM. I think that's very, very important, and we see that the CRM market overall is moving there.
Yeah, I think, if you have to jump into other tools after the sale, then there's breaks in the relationship. You don't understand the context that happened before. And so we feel like even a big part of it is project delivery and service delivery outside of just CSM and marketing. It's like this big component of, you sold someone something, now you need to deliver this engagement to them. And a lot of times our customers use project management tools or something else, but we feel like that's a big miss, doing that in a different tool. If you can do that all in one tool, you can track all the interactions and documents and communication end to end, like that whole entire, and then create repeat business that goes back and goes through that end to end thing. And so that's we feel strongly that it should happen in one tool.
Cool. So go and check out copper.com for that. Looking at the time, we're at the end of our session. Thanks a lot, Steve. It was really a pleasure to have you here. Where can the people find you?
Copper.com. That's probably the best way to find us. We're also on LinkedIn and social media and all of that. But yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. It was a fun chat. Hopefully it was useful for the folks that are tuning in.
No, definitely. Thanks for having you, and then wishing you a great rest of your day over there. And I would say I speak to you soon, Steve.
Okay, same to you. Thanks, David.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.